What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Strackbine, joined always by my main man, Jacob Punturi. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talk or subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts. The Pittsburgh Steelers are 4-2. Yesterday, well, if you know me, if you watch this show, you realized very quickly, Noah was wrong. Noah was wrong big time. And I will be the first one to admit I was wrong. I will be the first one to take some of the blame into what is happening with the Pittsburgh Steelers and happened yesterday. But we got to dive into all of the ins and outs of a 33-31 loss to the Cincinnati Bengals on Thursday night. Mike Tomlin officially 0-7, I believe, against AFC North opponents on Thursday Night Football. He ties another brutal record of 56 consecutive games with 7 or less points scored in the first quarter. It is a night to remember who your head coach is in the worst way for the black and gold. Meanwhile, the defense that was meant to man up the Cincinnati Bengals all summer long, that's what we were told. The Cincinnati Bengals are the team that the Steelers are trying to man every single time with this cornerback group. You want to know what we learned on Thursday night? They can't do it, at least not this time. Things need to be fixed. We'll dive into what could be fixed, what can't be fixed, and where the Pittsburgh Steelers are, and then the good news, because there is good news that comes from this, and we have to obviously address it. Plus 2 news and notes that are absolutely hilarious that we will dive into a little bit later. It's a good one here in the Berg. I just got back from Cincinnati 10 seconds ago. No exaggeration on that one. Sat down, said what's going on. Bags are still in the hallway here. It's all right. Good to be back. How you feeling, my friend?
Feeling fine. You know, it's Friday. It's the weekend. What a stinker of a game that was yesterday, and just what a stinker of a performance start to finish that turned out to be in a lot of ways. So I think I'm just kind of deflated a little bit from that disappointment there. But, you know, we journey on. I think the wife and I are going to make a sick little pasta dish for dinner. So, you know, we rally from there and we move forward.
I agree.
That's, you know, you got to have that attitude of flip the page and move forward.
It's a beautiful place to be. And some pasta is the best way to get through it. Always. The Pittsburgh Steelers have 10 days to get through whatever they need to get through and figure this whole thing out. And there's some belief that they're gonna, I'm not going to sit around and say that the Pittsburgh Steelers are in trouble and everything's melting and the whole world is officially over. I don't think that it necessarily is. I think this is part of the roller coaster that the Pittsburgh Steelers ride. And while yesterday I tried so hard to say that the Pittsburgh Steelers are a contender and have an opportunity to shut down all of the noise, all of it, there was no more talk of a trap game. This morning I wake up saying, look it, they're still there. They're still in the tier of could win big in big moments. I'm not going to say that they're going to play the Cincinnati Bengals every week. And therefore, I feel that, they look terrible, but I don't expect them to look terrible every single time they go out on the football field. And I don't think that their season is over after one Thursday night football loss that is historically proven to be their worst spot in the season against an AFC North team and Joe Burrow that had the writing on the wall all over it. And I was the only one blind enough to try to tell you guys it wasn't there. The Steelers are 4-2. There's a lot to dive into first. Let's start with the defense. I just have simply WTF. That's what I have written on my notepad to what happened. I don't think in the grand scheme of things that you could sit here and say that there are all these fixes that the Steelers need to go out and make to fix what happened last night. Obviously, there are some parts of the defense that you could fix. I think the running game is an issue that you have to address. But I also think at the end of the day, Jalen Ramsey summed up a lot of it by just saying, we got to play better. Because you look at Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Joe Flacco, and what you said in that passing game was not, they're playing the wrong scheme. They played the wrong scheme for the first quarter and a half, trying to zone this defense after they said all offseason, oh, we're gonna man the Bengals. We're gonna man everybody. We are a man team. Well, the second half, they didn't lie to us. They manned them, and they got burnt like toast, and it was bad, and it looked terrible. And Jalen Ramsey couldn't compete with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, and Joey Porter Jr. couldn't come close to competing anybody, and Darius Slay couldn't even stop wide receiver 3 in Cincy. That's what happened when you manned them. But again, I don't think there's a solution to, oh, well, you play a different defense. Your defense is built to do just that and win, and they didn't do it. Is there something I'm overlooking here? When you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, when you look at last night and what happened, do you look at it and say there is a solution, or do you look at it and say the solution is playing better?
The solution, obviously is playing better in a lot of facets. The one thing that I will point out as maybe slightly correctable or slightly within their control is, we didn't see a ton of Nick Herbig for my liking. We saw an unusually low amount of Juan Thornhill in this game. We saw not a lot of Brandon Eccles in this game. And I think when you were looking for a little bit more help in the passing game, I do find it a little bit weird which players they chose to roll with a ton. So I think, yes, the answer is obviously play better. The run defense was bad. It was so porous. It was the fact that they allowed the Bengals and their running game to do whatever they wanted and to just impose their will on the Pittsburgh Steelers defense is a very, very upsetting sort of occurrence. But there's nothing like who could you have put out there to have stopped the run a little bit better? Who is, this group, whenever they do the right things, they stop the run at a decent enough level, and it was just not good enough from start to finish against the Cincinnati Bengals. And I think the same thing is absolutely true when it comes to the passing defense. But man, the fact that they started the game the way they did, I think is, and I talked about this on Torrey's playbook, but it's to come out there and just sort of like drop immediately into this soft zone coverage and to kind of just allow intermediate plays to happen to start. I absolutely acknowledge and agree with you. They made some nice adjustments and were able to find a little bit more success, I guess, but it wasn't enough. It just, they didn't come ready or prepared enough, and it didn't seem like they wanted this game enough compared to how desperate the Cincinnati Bengals came into this one.
I completely agree. This is a classic, and I talked about it on my To Go. This is a classic. Aaron Rodgers tried so freaking hard to overcome what Mike Tomlin was doing against him. That's what he did. Because the defense looks bad. Guess who runs the defense? TA and Mike Tomlin. And guess who are historically awful on Thursday night against AFC teams? Mike Tomlin and TA and the defense. And this was the offense is doing literally everything in their power. Literally everything in their power. But the miscommunication issues come back. You're looking at Jalen Ramsey. I will say this. All the noise of Jalen's doing too much and he shouldn't be doing enough. No, I don't disagree with that. Or I don't agree with that. You're not simplifying Jalen Ramsey's role because he had one bad game. And in that bad game, it was man coverage. He didn't look bad when he was playing safety. He didn't look bad when he was moving around. He looked bad when Jamar Chase and T. Higgins smoked him. That's when he looked bad. I don't think it was miscommunication. I don't think he was out of alignment. I just think he got beat multiple times. There are going to be good games where he comes in here and does things like has 2 sacks and looks ridiculous moving around. And then there are going to be games where he gets beat like this one against the Cincinnati Bengals. And I chalk it up to this was just a really poor performance by Jalen Ramsey and Joey Porter and Darius Slay. I'll also say this. Where the hell was TJ Watt? And where the hell was Cam Hayward? And where the hell was Alex Highsmith? Because those 3 combined for two tackles somewhere in the third quarter, and it did not look good. And they were nowhere to be found. Joe Flacco had 2.5 seconds to throw the football, and I get it. That's fast, too fast. But you have to make some adjustments. And I think where the problem lied eventually was they were trying to blitz this guy when that, in my opinion, was not the answer. Drop some guys back and force him to throw in 3.5 seconds, because in that 3.5 seconds, maybe TJ gets home, but TJ's got it. There was no playmaker there whatsoever. It was, and I hate that I'm saying this, but we spent 45 minutes, or PFF spent 45 minutes justifying a bad Myles Garrett game. I won't do the same. This was a TJ Watt looks terrible, Alex Highsmith looks worse game. They were nowhere to be found. Nick Herbig played 29 snaps. Why? I just don't understand anything about how they went about the defensive scheme. And I'll call TJ out on this one. I just think that was TJ disappears from time to time in these big moments. And that was a reminder that, TJ did it too. TJ just completely disappeared in these moments. And I don't know if TJ is a simple, you just got to play better. But TJ, you can't overlook what TJ didn't do in this game.
No, I think that is what I think amongst all of this, and everything that came out of the locker room, and you were there, so you heard it firsthand. Like, they all were accountable. Ramsey, TJ, sure. Cam Hayward, they all were like, we got to be better. We have to do X, Y, and Z. They all know that they were very bad. It's not like it's a secret, or it's not like they are like totally like afraid to admit their shortcomings here. I'm just not sold on that leading to any sort of real changes. And I'm not really sold on if that is going to end this sort of to use your words, or to use what you're saying here, I don't think that solves this sort of disappearing act that happens sometimes with the biggest players, not just TJ Watt, but the fact that Cam Hayward was so ineffective once again, the fact that Keanu Benton, sans one sack at the start in the very first defensive series, was really a non-factor the rest of the game. Alex Highsmith looked non-factor again. So the list goes on and on. The fact that their star players can go from 7 turnovers in 2 weeks to then becoming completely irrelevant in another game, that's the concerning part for me. It's not the fact you can make those slight adjustments if everyone's sort of doing the same thing week in and week out, but when you cannot guarantee or count on what you're going to get out of your best players, that's where you fall into trouble, and that's where you're going to continue to come up short in those big moments. So yeah, it's a concern for sure.
It's a huge concern. I mean, you have to be able to fix it. On the other side of that, there is good news that came out of this game, and I'm not going to ignore it. Okay. Aaron Rodgers, and I'll repeat myself, did everything in his power, everything humanly possible, including getting tackled by Broderick Jones that we'll react to here in a moment, to save the Pittsburgh Steelers from the curse of Mike Tomlin and Thursday Night Football. He did everything he possibly can. I don't think the DJ Turner thing was an interception. I'm sorry. I watched that replay 100 times. I just don't understand how there was inconceivable evidence that was an interception, because it didn't make sense to me at all. If the knee got down, I get it, but I didn't see the knee get down. I understand the rule there. I'm not saying, oh, you can't rip the ball. No, that's all there. I thought he landed out of bounds. I was very convinced that he landed out of bounds. The one pass to DK was awful, but Aaron was vintage Aaron in this one, doing everything in his power to keep the Pittsburgh Steelers alive, ripping smelling salts and throwing should-have-been game-winning touchdowns to Pat Freiermuth, excuse me. Jaylen Warren looks unbelievable. Unbelievable. You average 7.6 yards a carry, over 15 rushes, and you're averaging 7.6 yards. That's unheard of. That is not a thing in the NFL that happens. Jaylen Warren looked ridiculous, and you should never, ever, ever have a running back that averages more than 7 yards a carry and lose a football game. But I mean, if you are looking at I'm a believer. I think the Steelers are still very much so alive this season. I'm not giving up on this team yet. I think the offense looked crazy, and it was a building block to say this offense could be good, because they look good. Aaron looked good, and Jaylen looked good, and the offensive line looked fun because they looked real good, again, outside of Broderick Jones tackling his own quarterback in a touchdown celebration. And that's, to me, that's signs of life that you could take away from this one and say, all right, wasn't all bad, because you put up 31 points and you do what they did. I think it's a sign that it's something you could take away with and say the next time gives them a better chance to win.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. I think what the Steelers offense, I think, is unquestionably is they're good enough to, help to do their part. I think is the best way that I want to say this. They are I don't think they're like ever going to be electric and explosive. I think, 250 passing yards and you make up the rest on the ground, like that is going to be the recipe for success for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think it kind of, for me, it sort of tells me that maybe this is a little bit of confirmation bias. I'm sure you might think so, but it kind of reaffirms this belief that I've had for months now about whenever they are doing this offense and it's operating correctly, the need for that splash playmaking wide receiver two doesn't feel as apparent, doesn't feel as emergent, doesn't feel like it is the number one thing moving forward. Whenever the offensive line is able to protect Aaron Rodgers, you
Oh
see what
yeah.
he can do. You see how he's able to extend plays in a very a fashion that is very familiar to a lot of Pittsburgh Steelers fans. And so I think it's an offense that does its part, can do what it's supposed to help win games as long as the defense is doing it. Now, I don't think it's ever going to be the savior of this team in the way that this defense is supposed to be. But I think, again, it can do its part and it can do just enough to help win a division, to help win 11 or 12 games, possibly still to help win a playoff game, maybe two, So I think that is continuing to be confirmed. The case for that is continuing to be built, and Aaron Rodgers is the sole reason because of that. The offensive line is paving the way as well, but Aaron Rodgers has just been the blessing in disguise for the Steelers offense this year.
Yeah, yes, he was, and what he's opened up is insane, and the ability to work with Arthur Smith, because I don't want to overlook that. I think that this is the first time Arthur Smith as a quarterback that he looks at since showing up in Pittsburgh, saying, "Oh, I can actually do things with this guy. This guy and me, we actually get along, and we like each other, and he's good, and it allows him to get creative and work with things." Look at it. If the Steelers can figure out the defensive side of the football, which is a tall task, let's be honest, a tall task. If they can do it and be able to man up teams, which is nuts because you shut down Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison for the most part, but Jamar Chase and T. Higgins couldn't do it for you. It just doesn't make sense to me. Luckily, the playoffs don't happen on Thursday nights. And I truly think that if you put Aaron Rodgers in a position to win a football game, he's going to do everything in his power to win that football game, and he gives you a shot. And the Steelers haven't had that shot in a long time. That like, hey, this is a shootout, and we could walk away. The Steelers should not have won. They shouldn't even come close to winning that game last night. Like they should have lost by 10. And instead, Aaron Rodgers comes down and says, "I'm going to throw a ridiculous pass to Pat Freiermuth, 40 yards down the field. I'm going to put it in a window that's this big, 40 yards down the field for Pat to catch it." And I truly believe that that Aaron gives you a shot. And if Jalen and this running game continue to build the way that they are, I mean, the only bad thing is that he's on my bench in my fantasy football league. Besides that, nothing's bad whatsoever. I do want to react to Broderick, though. Broderick absolutely annihilates Aaron Rodgers after that last touchdown pass, which is hilarious and crazy. But I have to ask the serious question here. Do dumb things like that, it's got to push some sort of conversation of like, no, you're not going to get rid of your starting left tackle because he tackles your quarterback, but you are going to have the conversation of like, he might be, what are you doing? You know what I mean? And you're the one guy on the offensive line that we should never ask, what are you doing? That's your job, is to be the best offensive lineman. I don't know. To me, I was like, dude, that might have, if Broderick struggles to finish the season, that might be the moment that ended his career in Pittsburgh. That might have been the one.
4 or 5 days ago, it seemed like Broderick Jones had sort of solidified his place a la Dan Moore Jr. by being able to shut down Myles Garrett. But
yes,
I tell you what, that pass might be taken away real quick because of what happened last night. And he's been answering the criticisms quite well over the last couple of weeks. So credit to him as far as that is concerned. And of course, it's not grounds for, getting rid of your left tackle. But I mean, what a boneheaded type of just like snap decision. I know he's excited. Like this is, in the moment, it's one of those vintage fourth quarter comebacks from Aaron Rodgers. To be a part of that must be such a crazy, exciting feeling for the players. Like Broderick Jones and this offensive line continue to sort of be counted out and discounted. I could see the sort of like excitement boiling over, and bubbling over into that. But I just cannot lie and say that I didn't find it absolutely hilarious to see it happen, and then to see Aaron Rodgers get up with such frustration and just be red mad. And I imagine Aaron Rodgers is thinking, dude, I lost an entire year because of a tackle that looked kind of similar.
Yes.
And he's like, I don't have many of these left, my dude. Like, do not do that to me ever again. It also kind of reminded me, you ever I know you've been in the biz a long time, so I'm not sure the last time you were in like a like an office type of setting, but like, when
Never
someone,
in my life.
I'm sure a lot of the picnic pack will be able to respond. There's always someone might do something wrong in an office, and you're like, oh, we're gonna have a meeting about this on Monday. They're not gonna say specifically who messed up, but I can see a little whiteboard meeting being like, hey, just want to go over a couple things. Offensive linemen, our job is to protect the quarterback. We keep them up. We don't bring them down. We don't want to say any names. We don't want to call anyone out, make anyone feel like they did something wrong, Broderick. But we're gonna go ahead and just remember 3 things. 1, we keep the quarterback up. 2, we don't knock them down. And 3, Broderick, don't do it again. Because I just think they're going to have to figure out how to not make that happen.
You want to know how I actually think Mike Tomlin, and this is from hearing many stories about Mike T in these meetings and calling guys out. You want to know how that's actually going to go down? You want good detailed? Let's play the clip here. Broderick, what the fuck was that? What are you doing here, pal? Are you an idiot? Let's replay it. And then he just does it again. That's exactly what's going to happen. Excuse my language. That's exactly what's going to happen. Mike T's going to roast this. If he didn't already, he's going to roast him. It's going to be so bad, dude. It's going to be so bad. That was the most like jaw dropping, like, Broderick, man, what are we doing? How did we get here? How did we get here? Here's the second one I got for you. Here's the second thing I want to react to right now before we capitalize everything. 93.7 The Fans, Andrew Filippone said before the game that you could say I jinxed it. I'll take blame for that one. I will.
Of course not.
I will
dude.
100%. No. It's on me. I jinxed them. I'm going to take blame for that. It's all about accountability. You know what I mean? Me, Jalen Ramsey, same person. Neither of us can cover Jamar Chase, and we both take accountability. That's what we do. I may have jinxed them, but at least I didn't put a stupid bet on the line. Andrew Filippone said he's piercing his nipples, then said he's actually gonna pierce his nipples. Pardon my take, called him out for saying he's gonna pierce his nipples, saying that he doesn't. He says he's going to, that it's already a lock, it's gonna happen. First off, Andrew, I know you personally. Not really. I met you like 4 times. You're a very nice guy. What the hell? What are we doing? Second off, what are the odds? Is he actually going to do this? Is he actually going to pull this thing off?
No, he can't. I mean, I don't know him personally at all. I've never actually met him. So I don't know. This is why when I make bets, they're about jerseys, that's the repercussions or things that will serve me well, because I had a buddy on senior trip in high school who did get his nipples pierced. And let me tell you, I mean, everyone either did it or their friends did it at some point. Right. And it from what I've seen, it hurt. And he also did say, was it no numbing agents as well?
No numbing agents.
Better pony up, brother.
Pony up, because his name's Pony. I get it. Look, dude, all I'm saying is I cannot believe that has gone viral, but I kind of love it. You know what I mean? There are certain people in the city of Pittsburgh that love to just say dumb things. And I'm glad that Barstool Sports is like, we're going to actually make this guy pay for this one. And shout out, because look, I'm not going to do that. You know what I mean? First off, I would never bet on a trap game, anything. I would just make very loud and egregious predictions. And that's what I did. And then I'll take the L on it on the other side. But my nipples aren't taking the L. Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit.
They're protected.
Shout out to Andrew Filipponi, man. What a wild. Okay, wait. What's the dumber? Who was dumber this weekend? Who had the dumber moment this weekend? Pony betting his nipples get pierced, or Broderick Jones tackling his quarterback after a potential game-winning touchdown?
Oh, it's Broderick for sure. It's Broderick for sure, because you can, like, Pony can wiggle out of this. You know what I mean? And I you know, that's an unhonorable man that might make in this situation, but it's not for me to judge. That's just for, you know, higher power too.
It's for the higher power too.
Just for the higher power too. But I do think, you know, he can wiggle out of this, and there could be relatively few repercussions. Even if we forget about what happened with Broderick Jones, I imagine the Steelers locker room will not let Broderick Jones forget about this for the rest of the season.
They're gonna hate him. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I agree. Broderick, what the hell, man? What are we doing? All right, that's everything on our agenda. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side of it, we're going to start answering all your questions. So toss them in the chat. We'll get to as many of them as we can. We'll be right back. What's up, AST Nation? I've teamed up with DraftKings. The next great touchdown is coming. You can bet on it. And the best way to do so is through DraftKings Sportsbook, where new customers who bet $5 get $300 in bonus bets plus 3 months of NBA League Pass. That means new customers turn $5 into $300 if your bet wins in bonus bets. The crown is yours. Love the thrill of live betting? DraftKings has got you covered. Bet live on in-progress games right as they happen. Then use your bonus bets to stay in on the action and bet DraftKings same-game parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout. And don't worry, if sports betting is not yet available in your state, you're fine. You can still join in on all of the fun with DraftKings daily fantasy sports and have the shot to win cash prizes. New customers who bet $5 get $300 in bonus bets and 3 months of NBA League Pass if your bet wins. Sign up using my promo code ALLSteelers and get in on the action. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Shout out our boys over at DraftKings. All right. Shout out to our members. Shout out to our super chatters. If you got questions, toss them in the chat. We'll get to as many of them as we can before we head out of here. We're going to start with Leroy. Jacob, great bold prediction yesterday saying Pat would have a breakout game. He went crazy. Shout out to Pat, dude. I'm glad Pat had a game. It was well-deserved. It was needed. What's your thoughts on Pat? You made the bold prediction.
I did make the bold prediction, and I wish that really anything else I had said about how this game was going to play out would have actually come true, because then I would feel a lot more, you know, I'd stand on my business a lot in reaction. But I think really where I made this bold prediction yesterday out of a little bit of hopefulness, you know, certainly because the defensive matchup allowed for it and sort of predicted it in some ways, but also because I really just wanted to see Pat Freiermuth have a breakout game. So I wish I could say I was like really keyed into like this was the one thing the Steelers could do to move the ball downfield, but I think it was just a sort of perfect storm for them. I don't know if the story came out or if it's coming out tomorrow, but overall, I've found it to be, while it was a step forward for Pat Freiermuth, I find it to be a pretty unconvincing sort of predictor of things to come, if that makes sense. I think he's this number 2 passing option being Pat Freiermuth is not how things are going to go for the Steelers offense, unless no, maybe you feel differently. But I think it was a good game, but I think we're going to then quickly revert back to what we've seen over the past few weeks prior.
Yeah, I think a lot of this played into momentum of the football game and the fact that the Steelers need to throw it and throw it and throw it and throw it. And I think that'll change. I don't think it was by design that Pat was going to be that guy and have this big game. I think it just happened. I think the Steelers, and we'll dive into this more on Monday, but I think the Steelers still have a very strong need and want to add to their room, their wide receiver room, and that's going to take away from everybody. You know what I mean? Roman had a good catch. I don't expect that to continue. Like I look at this as, I don't think it's a fluke. I think it was a desperation game, and in desperation games, anything could happen, you know, but by design, I do not think that's what it was. And I'm not convinced yet. I hope, because I love Pat, man. I hope that's what, and I'm glad Pat got to show us that he is open, you know, and that these things do happen. But I'm not 100% convinced that this is going to be the case just yet long term. Pittsburgh Feelers, what a name. Where was the leader this week on defense? Sheesh. What a name, dude. What a name. There was none. And that was the craziest part, is that what's so nuts is that everything came back. TJ not playing well came back. Cam disappearing came back. The secondary not looking good came back. The Patrick Queen not playing well came back. The miscommunication came back. Every single thing came back to the Pittsburgh Steelers defense and hit them as hard as possible. And there are no answers to why it happened outside of it almost felt like it was supposed to happen. You know what I mean?
Do you see? I guess I'm curious your opinion. I know they're playing on such short rest, and you know, Aaron Rodgers makes a very, I think, a comment that's very well founded about how, you know, kind of alluding to how they shouldn't really be playing on this shorter rest, and how it's really a decision about, you know, money for the league that they make these schedules happen the way they do. And I certainly agree with that. It's all about the money. But like, do you lend any credence to short rest? Like, maybe a better way of asking it is, on short rest weeks, how much sort of space do you allow for the performance to drop compared to, you know, what actually transpired last night? Because you expect there to be some sort of, you know, if they were playing at 100%, maybe they can only play at 90%, for example. But it seemed like the Steelers went from playing at, like, you know, a 95% of their defensive capabilities to like 38%. So like, what's the drop off that's like allowable versus what is just bad performance? Does that question make sense?
10%. 10%. That's what you're an NFL athlete, and it sucks, and it's not fun. And Thursday Night Football is a BS day that nobody wants in the league, not a single person. But it's 10%. You're allowed to drop off 10%. You have 10 days rest after that. You know what's coming. You just came off a bye. 10%. It's 10%. The Steelers dropped off, like you said, 40, 50. That's way too big, because the Bengals didn't drop off like that. They went up. That's, in my head, that's what it is you have to be able to push through it enough to make yourself still very competitive. And the Steelers were not that defensive. You know what I mean? 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers didn't drop off 10%.
Right.
And if 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers is able to hold it up after getting tackled by his left tackle and running around like a lunatic, everybody should be able to play up to snuff. You know, that's how I feel it.
I agree. I tend to, like, I don't want to be, you know, I'm a guy sitting here watching the game, right? And I come on here and talk about it with you, and I write about it from my basement. Like, obviously I am like not like in a position of judgment on any of these players, but I do always find it a little bit of a disappointing answer whenever that's sort of brought up. And again, I get it. They should not be playing 4 days apart. This is a violent sport. The fact that their bodies are not given ample enough time to rest and recover in between games, I find to be not in the best interest of the players. That being said, this is their job, and I don't really accept like a steep drop off like we saw last night. I know the players don't either, but like, they're the ones who did it.
They're the ones who did it. Darian, Please, 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 I beg, move Keanu Benton to 1-tech from 2-1-tech or 5-tech. Please just start YA at the nose. Benton is better at the defensive end position. Please. I mean, I think Benton played terrible last night outside of the opening drive, but I don't think Derek Harmon played well at all. Cam Hayward looked awful. Like, let's just be honest. Cam Hayward has such a high standard, and he fell so short of that high standard. It was nuts. But Patrick Queen looked bad. Peyton Wilson looked bad. Cole Holcomb didn't look good. Like, I don't disagree with this at all. So I'm not going to sit here and be like, no, you don't move him. I don't disagree with this conversation. I think the conversation is still there for Keanu Benton to not play nose tackle. I don't think the Steelers would have won last night if Y.E. Black was out there, because I think everybody else around him looked bad too.
I'm sorry. I'm just looking to see how many. Derek Harmon played 43 snaps last night.
Yeah.
Wow. Didn't seem like it. Didn't seem like he was out there at all. And it's funny because Keanu Benton, the sack that he did have was because Patrick Queen, I think, surprised the crap out of the Cincinnati Bengals offensive line that he was rushing on that play. And it left him with like a really nice, clean one-on-one opportunity, and he's able to get to Flacco. So I get it, Darian. I understand the criticism. I think, yes, I think the conversation needs to remain open. And the big problem is who do you displace by moving him to defensive end? Is it because are you taking Cam Hayward's spot by moving him to defensive end, which might be the case, next year or something, but is that going to be the best move going forward for the rest of 2025? That I don't know. That's where I'm not sure.
I think that's a great question to bring up, and I don't think you displace anybody. I think you honestly just put him on the bench, and that's where they're at in the first place. Is that he's better than Y.E. Black overall, so they want him on the field. It's just a matter of you have too many guys and not enough places. That's kind of what it feels like, guys. To be honest. Oh, guys, be honest. Is it the scheme, the coaching that ruined our defense? What changes need to be made to un-F the disaster? I miss Dick LeBeau. That's a tough question. That's a tough question. I think it started off as scheme, ended up being players. Players relate to coaching. So I'm going to say coaching. It's like the curse of Mike Tomlin. Is it weird to just say it's the curse of Mike Tomlin? I know that's not the answer, but it feels like it's the answer. But I don't think that necessarily schematics are gonna change it. The Steelers, the Steelers said they built a team to do this. That's what they did last night. They said, "Well, we spent 6 months building this defense to play this team and to play this way against this team. How are we gonna play?" And they look terrible. So. The players. I think the answer is the players.
More so than, man, I don't know. I don't know if I agree. I don't know if I have a great counter argument, to be quite honest. I just think that there is, they've tried to do this. They've had the same goal on defense for, I don't know, 20 years under Tomlin. And how many of those years do you think they've been successful at achieving that goal? And yes, maybe the first decade, sure. After that, I'm not quite as confident in that answer being yes. And I think, you've had a lot of different players come in and out of the organization, a lot of Pro Bowlers, All Pro, future Hall of Famers. This is the most expensive defense I've ever seen play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And
yes,
they can't figure it out. They can't even find consistency. So I wonder if it is more of a reflection on the coaching at this point, or what is just a lack of ability to draft and develop and identify talented players that fit within your scheme. But then again, I go right back to an argument with myself here, that if the scheme doesn't work and you keep trying to put fit a square peg in a round hole, maybe you should find a square hole. Or maybe you should find some round peg. I don't know.
I agree with that, but I also think they tried in zone. You know what I mean? They opened it up and said, let's play zone. And Jamar Chase, they ran the same play. Jamar just went,
Right.
whoop, catch it on the sideline. Whoop, catch it on the side. It happened 5 times in a row. And they're like, all right, we should play man. And then it was slant. Nothing worked. So that's where I come into this saying, like, I can't sit here and say it was the scheme, because they tried the schemes. They didn't work. And that goes to coaching. You know what I mean? Your team was just red hot. Now they stunk. I think what you could bring into the conversation is the fact that literally nobody practiced on Wednesday or on Tuesday. Not a soul practiced. There were like 12 starters who did not practice on Tuesday. Maybe you should practice your guys. Maybe you should put them on the field and say, we're preparing for Joe Flacco and T. Higgins and Jamar Chase and one of the best receiving cores we're going to play all season long. The team that we have been preparing for months, and then we're not going to practice on Tuesday. You know what I mean? We're going to have James Pierre and Brandon Eccles on the outside facing Mason Rudolph. Like, well, I don't think it changes everything, but
this is where I think like maybe this is a reflection on coaching more so than on the players. Like and this the same thing with the schematics too. Like, yes, like they certainly were trying to do different things, but like, where is the due diligence beforehand? And where, like, when is the last time we sat here, or you sat here on your Steelers to go and you were like, man, the Steelers came in here, they found that one thing that the Cincinnati Bengals, they had this chance to just sort of like be smarter than the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah.
And they couldn't be. And that was really the only way that they probably could have won this game on such a short turnaround. And instead they made every choice that helped them lose. And I think that is more of a reflection on coaching than the players executing what the coaches want to do. But man, I hate to just like pile on to Mike Tomlin because I don't think it's just solely and only a reflection of his failures in this game, but I do think he should catch a lot of flack for this.
I agree. I 100%. I did a whole to go on the curse of Mike Tomlin. That was my to go this morning. Was the curse of Mike Tomlin, and I agree. George, Austin 3 and long, maybe the worst in the league. You're not wrong. You know what I mean? It went from 4th and long to 3rd and long. So what are we even doing here? How is this even possible? It's the immediate, let's just drop into a zone that starts. If it's 3rd and 7, we're going to start 8 yards off the ball. What? How did we get there? Nobody said to not do that? Not one person has ever been in a meeting and been like, excuse me, I just, in case, just throwing it out there here. Maybe we should put our defense before the first down marker, at least some of them, and see what happens. And then Mike T and TA were standing at the front of the room like, yeah, he's fired. You should just leave now. You know what I mean? I don't understand it. I just don't. It makes no sense to me how every time, what's coming. You know what zone is coming, that they're going to drop into it. And even the inside linebackers are going to be 8 yards off the ball when it's snapped. And it's, yeah.
There's not even any deception to it. And it's not like it's going to work necessarily, or it's not like, Joe Flacco's played for 300 years. It's not like you're like going to be like, oh, this is the thing that tricks them. But like you come out there and it's 3rd down. You just know exactly what the Steelers are going to run against you. And Jamar Chase said it after the game. They were like, yeah, we knew the Steelers were going to do this and they were going to do that. And they were going to do the X, Y, and Z in these situations. That's how you win these. You have to be smarter than your opponent sometimes. And to not be in a very easy game like this, that's a coaching failure.
Agreed. Chris, wasn't it Tomlin that pushed out Dick LeBeau? I
think life pushed Dick LeBeau out a little bit too,
right? Yes and no. Yeah, I think it was like a little bit of everything. I think it was, from my understanding, Mike had his thoughts on the defense. Dick LeBeau had his thoughts on the defense. and they just kind of felt like it was a natural change to leave. That's what it kind of felt like. It was the worst decision the Steelers have made in potential franchise history. You know what I mean? Like it was so bad. It's not like Dick LeBeau be coaching today. Let's not overreact in that aspect. He's 80 some years old. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He's not in the NFL. He's not coming back to the NFL. Don't get me wrong. I talked to him last year, and Dick LeBeau is still smart as a tack, or sharp as a tack. It's crazy how much he was riffing on. It was nuts talking to that guy. It was nuts. But like, yeah, I think it was like a little bit. I don't know the exact story, so I can't say yes, but from my understanding, yes, there was like some divide in how to go about things, and it did end up being the worst decision the Steelers have ever made, because as much as I loved Keith Butler, man, just wasn't it.
That's what we all thought about Keith Butler.
If you met, let me tell you this,
I bet he's great in person.
You as a person, if you met Keith Butler, which I hope you do, once in a while he just comes into the facility. If you ever meet him, you're gonna walk away from that being like, wow, dude, I love Keith Butler so much, dude. He's my favorite human alive.
I believe you.
Yeah, he's so awesome, dude. He's a terrible defensive coordinator, but he's so awesome. That's
the problem. Then the people you like the best, when it comes to sports, they often are the worst. It's not a one-to-one. You wish everyone you meet who's really nice and great and welcoming would be as dominating on the field or on the basketball court or on the ice, and it ain't the case, man. It just ain't the case.
I will say though that he did say when he was leaving, he said, "Dude, this ain't my defense." He made it very known. I don't make those calls. I don't make those calls. Red Eye Wolf. Noah, did you see the Hail Mary from Rodgers at the end of the game? Yes, we lost, but he for sure can still sling the football. I will say it was like that. Like it was the only time watching a Steelers game where there was 3 seconds left on the clock and you went, maybe. He's just so natural with it. Like he knows exactly what to do. It's the roll right, and then step back and throw it up. My only question on that is like, would you have put Darnell Washington out there? Because I feel like I would have put Darnell Washington out on the field.
Mm-hmm. No, I think they really wanted to let Roman Wilson shine. So I think that was a big part of it. But yeah, I think it was probably a mistake.
It was the jump. It was the hurdle. Earlier. They were like, did you see him jump before? He could definitely jump. He got up there. And somebody was like, Mike, he got hit. He went 5 yards up higher after he got. Mike's like, put him on the field. Put him on the field right now.
National champion points at the camera.
I'm shocked that they didn't put an extra offensive lineman out there instead. Shocked. But it was a cool moment. Yins or chicken salad, Jake? Biggest issue last night was not enough adjustments were made on the defensive side. No reason the highest paid defense can't adjust to adversity. Make it make sense. It's as crazy as it sounds, I'm going to push back a little bit on this one, Yins or Jake, and say I think that they made massive adjustments early in the game, and then they still sucked. So
okay.
Now I will say this as a counter argument. I don't know enough about coaching a football team to tell me what the next adjustment is. You know what I mean? But feels like there should be another one. Feels like there should be like all right, we tried this, it didn't work, let's try something else. And it didn't, it just ended. It was like, all right, play man. Yeah, this sucks. This sucks a lot, huh? Still sucks really bad. Well, we're here. Might as well just keep doing it. That's kind of what it felt like. I just feel like you needed one more something, one more something.
It just seemed like they all kind of just like, I don't know.
Yeah, couldn't tell you.
It's tough, right?
This is tough. I feel like there should have been one more adjustment made, at least minimum. And again, I don't get paid enough money to know what that adjustment is, but Mike Tomlin's $15 million a year should, you know what I mean? You should know. You should definitely have some understanding.
Yeah, if they want to pay me, I'll find a solution real hard. I got this is a little bit of a sidetrack, but I got an email the other day from someone who had read one of my articles on Breakaway. And was mad at me for not offering any solutions to a problem I wrote about. And I was like, I wanted to respond and be like, this team doesn't pay me to find solutions.
No,
They
no.
I get paid to criticize them. So
Yeah.
like, appreciate the thoughts. The same thing here at the Steelers. I'm not trying to find solutions for everything. I'm trying to ask questions and poke holes in things. That's what I'm trying to do.
That's what I'm saying. At the end of the day, dude, if I got paid $15 million, I'd have adjustment 2 ready to go. I'd have adjustment 2 ready to go. It's Juju. I called it. We only sacked Flacco's old ass twice. And it was super disappointing. Super disappointing. You want to talk to one adjustment that I think they should have made? And people are going to probably disagree with this. I don't think they should have been blitzing. I would have. They blitzed so much in this game, and I would have stopped blitzing. It wasn't working. And why not just put more guys in coverage and see if TJ could get home? Because Flacco was getting the ball out so quickly, you weren't getting to him. Peyton Wilson wasn't getting into the offensive line. Patrick Queen wasn't getting back there. Like, send 4, drop your linebackers back, and see what happens. You want to know when they didn't blitz? They didn't blitz on the 3rd and goal, and it worked. Flacco had nowhere to throw the football. That would have been my only adjustment. And do I think it would have been perfect? No, but I do think that I would have tried it. I do think I would have tried it.
Yeah, fair enough. They got some nice plays on when they rushed 4 too, I think. And that's what, again, I'm not,
Oh,
I'm not
yeah, for sure. I don't think it would have
like,
been perfect. Yeah, no, definitely don't think it would have been perfect. But
yeah, agreed.
Bad. Jacob's favorite receiver, Noah. I love you, brother, but never do a score prediction on a possible trap game ever again. Look at just to say, and I'm going to admit my flaws here, as what you do. It's what you're supposed to do. And I'm be even more honest. If you caught me on the live last night at 1 a.m, I was not as ready to admit my wrongs, but now I am. Long car ride back from Cincinnati, Skyline chili fully through the body. We're ready to say that one was on me. Counter argument. I said they were going to beat the Browns, and they beat the Browns. So we're 1 for 1. We're 1 for 1. I lost to Flacco. Me and Aaron Rodgers couldn't beat the Mike Tomlin curse at the end of the day.
I tell you what, man. I know we're having our silly fun games here, and I tell you what, if you jinx them, I jinx them, and I think everybody, Pony jinxed them. Everybody talking about this game yesterday, besides like some weird NFL Network people, everybody had the Steelers, and I think everyone was fair to have had the Steelers with quite a lot of assumptions in there as well. So I don't think you were alone, and I will never, like if you believe that Noah did jinx them, that's fine. It's your right to. I'm not going to try and talk you out of it, but just blame the Steelers more because they're the ones who lost.
I will say that a lot of people picked the Steelers. I think I might have been the only one who didn't bet his nipples, but did say that you are going to fall asleep at halftime and wake up and it's going to be 35-3. So I didn't help the situation. Red Eye Wolf Broderick forgot he was 200 pounds heavier. That was my immediate thought. It's like, I don't think Broderick meant to tackle Aaron Rodgers. I think he jumped on him like he would Mason McCormick, and then Aaron is 190 pounds, and Broderick went right down on him. And Broderick could have been the dumbest play of your career. Entire career. You don't make another NFL roster if you do that. That's the bad part. You lose so many opportunities if you do that. It's Broderick Jones, man.
Slap hands. That's what was going through my mind watching that back.
It's so true, though. It's so true. Andy Joe, excuse me. Mike T isn't going the way of Canada midseason despite losing 2 games, and the Steelers are still the 1 seed in the AFC North. Not going to happen, friends. He'd have to have a Raven season to be considered. Yeah, Mike T's not losing. Let's eliminate that conversation immediately. Mike T's not losing his job. He's not even close. There's not even a conversation to be had. The Steelers still think they're going to win the AFC North. I still think the Steelers are going to win the AFC North. It's hard to say that they're not gonna. Like, the Ravens lose this weekend. Who's your challenger? The Bengals? The Bengals are not going to stay. The Bengals beat the Steelers, okay? I don't think that that's going to happen every week. I don't think the Mike Tomlin curse carries to 31 other teams and says, you know what? Anybody who plays the Bengals now, they're going to lose to Joe Flacco. I'm sorry. I just don't. Like, unless you feel differently, I'm not ready to sit here and say the Steelers season is anywhere close to over.
No, not at all. Not at all. It's not anywhere close to that. Mike Tomlin isn't anywhere close to losing his job or anything even close to that consideration. It's a bad loss. Let's not sugarcoat it. Let's not try and like dance around that. It's a bad loss. It's a game they should have won. It's a game that would have put them in the driver's seat in the AFC North and really looking forward for the rest of their regular season schedule. It's not an elimination game. Their season is not now forever ruined. Yes, Noah did jinx them, and curses can be heavy to lift, but I think they are still capable of doing that, and they control their own destiny, and they have so many more opportunities to take back that control within the AFC North and the conference as a whole. So, I want to meet everybody in the despair, right, in the criticisms, because they're valid and true. But I'm not ready to push the panic button or call it quits on the season. I think it's just a bad loss, and how they rebound in week 8 against the Packers and then against the Colts in week 9, that's going to be the more important sort of response. And that's going to be the more important part of all this, is how they respond to that loss.
I agree. Jacob's favorite receiver. It feels like Noah made me feel safe with his prediction just for Joe Flacco to pierce my nipple. For anybody who's watching or listening to the audio, I will reread this one. It feels like Noah made me feel safe with his prediction just for Joe Flacco to pierce my nipples afterwards. Shout out to Andrew Filipponi, man, because we're having a bad day. He's having a significantly worse one. And you want to know what? Shout out to Andrew Filipponi's wife, because she's having the worst day of all of us. The worst day of all of us. Yeah. You didn't think about that part.
I hope this was a whole, everybody put on your conspiracy theory caps for now. It was his wife who gave him the idea because she wanted to see him suffer.
I hope that's true.
That'd be hilarious.
Chris, TJ and Cam made good arguments never to renegotiate. TJ needed a contract anyways. The TJ one is, I can't say no to this. I could say no in a week. I could say no last week. I could say no the week before that. I can't say no to it today. After yesterday, like today, and we have 10 days before I could potentially change my answer again. But if you were simply putting it in a vacuum, I would say it was a rough one for TJ and Cam and anybody who fought against them.
Yep. I will also, I'll pause it. I don't know if this is a pro or negative for the Steelers. It maybe is. I think it's actually more of a pro as I think about this for a second here. The Steelers, they boosted some incentives. They added some, they're mostly team oriented incentives and bonuses for Cam Hayward's contract, correct?
Yes.
So they're probably not too mad about whatever is happening there right now. You know what I mean? Like, they're like, that's actually probably a pretty good way to do things, is to tie them in with team success, and you have your player feel satisfied with a renegotiated contract, the possibility of making a little bit more money. You're not paying them, $120 million guaranteed over X amount of years. So it's probably not the worst way to go about things. But also, if there's two players to call out that need to step up more, TJ Watt and Cam Hayward are leading that list.
By far. Papaya Salad, really honest with the hoodies. Can we just call the show Hoodie Boys? If you're going to wear hoodies, wear them. Look at, dude, I'm all about a lot of
opinions on the hoodies.
I'm all about a good hoodie. My spicy hoodie. That's what I call this one. My spicy hoodie. Shout out to Papaya Salad.
Does it make you wait? Why is it spicy?
Papaya salad, dude. Keeping it spicy. You got to watch the Colin
Ah.
show. You got to watch the Colin show. Come on. What are we doing? What are we doing?
I thought like you were like extra warm in it or something. My body
You're
temperature's rising.
I might have to make you do the Colin show one week just so that
Please.
you introduce yourself correctly to papaya salad, because
Deal.
you'll know. Coleslaw, aka Berg fan, giving Aaron a pass for that horrible pick. He had a horrible long ball versus Browns too. I trust him, but come on, the mute money home run balls were awesome. Yeah, I'm giving Aaron a pass. I mean, quarterbacks are going to throw interceptions from time to time. That's just going to happen. It was a bad pass. And the grand scheme of things, he still put up 31 points. And in the NFL, if you score 31 points, you should win a football game. If you throw 4 touchdown passes, you should win a football game. If your running back averages more than 7 yards a game, you should win a football game. So, yeah. I'm giving, with pretty much ease, I'm giving Aaron Rodgers a pass on that interception. Bad pass? Yeah. I'm not going to say, can't believe Aaron would never throw that pass. No, he threw that pass. But I'm definitely giving him a pass on it.
Yeah, it was a bad throw, but I mean, I don't feel deterred. I don't feel any less confident about his ability to lead the offense. It was just, the interceptions happen. He's been pretty turnover avoidant for the most part. So yeah, I'll give him a pass for that.
Yeah, I agree. Isaac, Tomlin has control on the defense and results are mid-coaching always the issue. You're not wrong, dude. You're not wrong. It's the Mike T effect to the fullest of just when it's bad, it's bad. And it was bad. It was bad. But you got to put it on Mike T. I like that your argument of coaching. I agree with it. I sit here with it and say Mike Tomlin needs a heavy dose of criticism after this one. And it's not the first time, and chances are it's not going to be the last time that he gets a heavy dose of criticism with the Pittsburgh Steelers losing a football game.
Mm-hmm.
Duffy Buckets. Is Broderick getting fined by the league or what for unnecessary roughness first laid it on A-Rod? I've been saying since camp, Big Snack Jr. Black needs to start at nose tackle. Cam, Harmon, Benton rotate at defensive tackle. First off, do you think I think it's a really hard argument with the defensive tackles. I have a good question off this one though. Do you think the Steelers fine Broderick for that?
Oh, I would. For sure.
I think I would too.
Just to make an example of don't be an idiot. What was that for? For being an idiot. Okay.
For being an idiot.
Because that was dumb. That was some dumb stuff. And
it was dumb as it gets.
It was as dumb as it gets. It was as dumb as it gets. Yes, fine him. Not a crazy amount. You don't want
No. 10 grand.
I was gonna say 20. So yeah, I'm with you. Because I think 20 feels a little bit more than like a slap on the wrist and a little bit like don't ever do that again.
Yeah, dude, like, are you dumb? What are you doing? What are you doing? Have Aaron hand it to him, tackle him and hand it to him. Justin, I'll give Arthur Smith his props. I finally see this 10 tight end thing could really work, but they need a legit number 2. Our wide receiver number 2 was glaring. I agree. I go get a wide receiver. Like stop putzing around it and go get a wide receiver. Just go get a wide receiver. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. Go get a wide receiver.
You don't think Connor Hayward getting one of those first looks around the goal line is the way to go?
No, if he caught it, maybe, but he didn't catch it. And it would have been a difficult catch, but it was in his hands. You catch that football.
Oh, the ball was there. Should have had it.
And Aaron, you saw it. Aaron was like, are you kidding me, dude? You've been out here twice, and now you're going back to the bench. This is what's happening. And it's just, yeah. No, you do have to go get a wide receiver. You do have to. And we'll talk Monday. We'll dive real deep into the wide receivers, but you do. You have to go. I think it's glaring that you do need to go get a wide receiver. It's Juju. Is PQ a huge problem or is it more Terrell Austin? No, PQ is not a huge problem because PQ's looked ridiculous last 2 games. PQ looked as bad as every other person on the defense yesterday. Like, That's what it was. PQ looked as bad as TJ, Alex Highsmith, Cam Hayward, Peyton Wilson, Jalen Ramsey, Joey Porter Jr., Darius Slay. He looked as bad as all of them. But I don't think he is a glaring issue in this defense because I think the last 2 weeks he's looked crazy.
I agree with that. I think similarly, like let's criticize what wasn't great about his performance last night. He missed a couple of tackles. You could tell there were some miscommunications. And I think, as between him and Deshaun Elliott, like those are the two guys sort of operating and calling that defense. So that does fall on them, in my opinion, as well. So like, fine, let's say it wasn't his best game, but he has been an anchor, in my opinion, for this Pittsburgh Steelers defense this year. So in a similar way, I'm giving him a bit of a pass. Yes, he did not look great last night. Lots of issues, as I just mentioned. But I'll give him a little bit of a pass because he has been so good in so many other ways. Let's not write him off completely just because he missed a few tackles,
I agree. Smootest Buddhist. Remember when I said I have faith in the coaching staff? Yeah, not anymore. Smootest, I will say you were one of the first people I thought of last night because I said, oh, man, dude, Smootest was just climbing. He was just climbing back on the boat. He was just getting back in. And he looked at us and he went, oh, no chance, and dove right back in. Jumped ship instantly. So, Smootest, brother, you're in the T's and P's today. You're in the T's and P's. Moment of silence for Smootest and his faith in the Pittsburgh Steelers. You were the first person I was thinking of. Justin Gordon, I seen this coming with all Dylan Gabriel's missed passes and drops. The Browns wide receivers and tight ends were open. They just couldn't get it together. I still think you would have beat the Browns. You beat the Minnesota Vikings. They didn't drop the ball, you didn't have the same issues. I think this was the worst defensive performance the Steelers have put on all season. And I don't expect it to continue. I don't expect to get another one of these. But I did think it showed that they are human and this thing could get bad at moments fast.
For sure. I will say I didn't realize that anyone on the Cleveland Browns had a good game in any sort of respect until after I checked my fantasy team and saw that Harold Fanning had, however you say his last name, had like 11 receptions or something ridiculous. So I was like,
Noah Fant? Is that who you were talking
about? No. I'm talking about the Cleveland Browns game.
Gotcha.
I had no idea that anyone did anything of any substance for the Cleveland Browns offense until I looked at the stats, after in fantasy football. But I think just to Justin's point, there were maybe some signs that the defense was ready to allow some bigger plays and was playing a little bit too conservative in some situations. And, clearly that problem emerged and was exploited by the Bengals.
I agree. Dougie Fresh, should we really be this shocked? It happens year after year with these trap games. We win next week against Green Bay, and this is all a distant memory. That at the end of the day, that's what it is. Your next win, this goes away. And 2 games from now, nobody's even thinking about the Cincinnati Bengals. And if the Cincinnati Bengals lose their next 2 games, it's gone because there's no actual conversation of like, the next time you play the Bengals, it's in Acrisure Stadium. Then you don't play them again because they're not making the playoffs, So I think, again, like I said my faith in the Steelers it's not anywhere close to over yet. This is still a good team. It just had an awful night.
Yeah. Let's ride the wave a little bit here. Could it be the start of the downfall? Sure. Right? Like you can't say 100% that's not the case. I don't believe that's what's happening, but we shall see. I think we should just need to ride the wave a little bit here, and we'll see what happens. I don't anticipate they come out and play this flat again against the Green Bay Packers, but let's ride the wave and see.
Let's ride the wave and see. Steven Decker, wide receiver, cornerback, or both. Who are we getting? Fire Austin right now. Somebody tossed this out there last night. I don't understand the corner talk. It blows my mind a little bit. It makes 0 sense to me. Like, I think the last position the Steelers need is a corner right now. Like, I get it. They didn't play well, but like, you're not going to get a corner. You're not even going to think about it.
Who could you even possibly acquire that would be an upgrade? I think there's maybe a bit of merit to are you getting enough out of Darius Slay? Is Joey Porter Jr. really working through the defensive pass interference tendencies he tends to work through?
Mm-hmm.
There's questions, sure, about how much are you getting out of this cornerback room. Can Jalen Ramsey even play man coverage anymore? I don't know. But I don't think there are solutions that you can go out and acquire. I think there are maybe James Pierre, Beanie Bishop get a shot in some capacity,
No,
but geez, oh
no
man,
chance.
there's
Brandon
nothing.
Eccles.
There's nothing to
Just
improve.
Just play Brandon Eccles. If you don't think one of them's good enough, just play Brandon Eccles. Brandon Eccles is fine, but you're not going to. The Steelers do not need a corner. They
I agree with that.
They don't.
Have you been happy with Darius Slay? Like, is there?
I think Darius Slay looked fine last week, and I think Darius Slay looked fine against Minnesota. I don't think he looked bad at all in either of those games. For a corner 3, no, I don't think he's looked terrible at all. Like, that's who you're going to get is a corner 3. That's who it is. When you're going to when you're putting Jalen on the outside, it wasn't Jalen and Darius Slay. It was Jalen and Joey. That's who was on the outside. So, like, yeah, for corner 3, it's fine. And if you don't get enough out of Darius Slay and you starting to realize that, Darius Slay as a corner 4 is great. I got no issues with Darius Slay as a corner 4 and make Brandon Eccles your corner 3. And I don't think Brandon Eccles even looked that bad last night in his limited snaps.
Say they barely played him, so how could you even make a conclusion?
That's what. But I wouldn't say I'm like thrilled, but I'm not. No, I'm not jumping the. If that's the case, then let's add outside linebacker there as well. Like
fair enough. Fair enough.
Isaac. Let's be real. We were lucky to win at the Pats and Drake May. The real deal. Good on both sides. If they were lucky, they still won, So that's the real side of this conversation is if they were lucky, they still won, and the Pats might be the real deal, and the Steelers have victory over them. So that's a quality win in my eyes. I think the Patriots look more and more quality as the weeks go on.
I agree with that. And that makes the win even more impressive. So put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Smooth Buddhist. I jinxed this with the Unk versus Unk comment, but wow. I thought about you last night when Joe Flacco was tearing up the Steelers, and I said, even Smooth Buddhist thought that Joe Flacco stunk, which here we are. And he didn't. It's all right, dude. I jinxed everything. So good. Talking trash with the Steelers gang. Despite the loss, it's still Mike T for life. Oof.
For like your life?
Go ahead. What's your thoughts on that? What's your thoughts on that comment? Go ahead. I would love to hear.
I love Mike Tomlin. He can coach as long as he wants to coach, as far as I'm concerned. I'm not, I'm not a Death Eater in Harry Potter. I'm not swearing my allegiance forever to him. I'm a big fan of the coach. Big fan of the coach.
I'm a big fan of Mike T.
Are you Mike T for life?
No, I'm not. I'm Mike T.
How long are you Mike T?
Till there's like a full rebuild ready to be had, and then it's like, okay, why are we still doing this with the same guy?
That's where that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah. At some point, the Steelers are going to have to say, all right, dude, we need a new quarterback, and we need new this, and we need new that, and TJ's retiring, and all this stuff. And when that happens, yeah, I'm ready to see what happens with a new coach. And it's going to be bad. You lose a lot, but I'm ready. Jacob's favorite receiver, Broderick Jones, was our best defensive player last night. Let's put him at corner to lock down Jamar Chase next time. That was the best tackle the Steelers made all night. It was the best tackle the Steelers made without question. Zay Curry, not worried. Playing against the refs isn't easy. Joey Porter called out the refs too last night. And I will say the last person that should ever be calling out the refs is Joey Porter Jr. But I do think that the refs were awful last night. I don't think they were awful with every call, but I do think that they were bad.
I agree. I think there were a lot of, ticky-tacky, wishy-washy calls. I think there was a lot of, especially when it came to pass interference, there was a lot of physicality, a lot of hand fighting between receivers and defensive backs. Where they drew the line didn't seem very consistent. That's fine. But Joey Porter Jr. is absolutely the last person who should be calling that out. I mean, he just the dude he's penalized too much to be making any sort of comments about the officiating, because there's not a case against Joey Porter Jr. to just target him with penalties. It's because he's a very handsy cornerback.
I agree. I agree. It's the last guy that should be talking. Justin, Noah, are you in Tomlin Tuesday pressers? Yes, I am. Every Tuesday. And, they give you almost nothing, And I get a lot of people who say, like, why don't you ask Mike Tomlin why he sucks? I'm like, because you're not allowed to do that. Like, you can't. There are lines to be drawn.
You could. You'd never go back.
You could. You'd never be allowed to go back. You'd lose your job. You get fired. I probably wouldn't be able to do the podcast every day. It'd be bad. It would be bad. The repercussions would be awful. But at the end of the day, yes, I am. And they are mostly super pointless. They mostly end with him just saying, like, you guys really pissed me off today. It's like,
that was hilarious. Was that last week that he walked out with that?
Yeah, that was the latest one, yeah. Which is
funny because he was excited about it, a couple of days before.
Yeah. We got a visitor here. What are you doing there, pal? He's been slamming his head in. You did what?
I was just gonna say I did have some family members ask this morning, anyone gonna ask him about the Joe Flacco trade as a follow-up on Tuesday? And I was like, I don't think so. I don't think anyone's gonna ask him that.
But it did. But they did. Papaya salad. Jacob the Monk, take a picture. It's because you look very established. And
I think I did do a blessing motion at one point too. I forget what we were talking about, but
you did. See, I remembered that because I remember things. There it is. Coleslaw. AKA Berg fan. I have a few words for last night. Go mute. Just do better. Adjust. Get to the QB. Thanks, Noah. You're welcome. Took the wife to Marion Vines and the Speakeasy. Awesome. All right. I thought the thanks Noah was because I jinxed it. Way better on this one. It still might be because I jinxed it. Either way, glad that you enjoyed it. Super pumped about it. It is a great place. The food's phenomenal. Shout out my guy. I'm glad you had a good time. Carl, mean cup of Joe, green beans, salad, spackler, Austin, DC game plan, act tough, punch the brown ball, before trying to tackle, then just go do a dang. There is no organization. It's kind of what it felt like last night. There were a couple of moments where nobody did anything, any of them, and you were just like, oh, okay. That was fun. Ryan, we were so close to my every touchdown, every tight end gets a TD in the game. It actually would have been crazy if that happened. And the Steelers might have walked away winners if it did. Shout out to but John, who might not knock out. Shout out to Cam, dude. Shout out to Connor Hayward. Was that close?
Oh, so close.
Shout out to Ryan. And we're going to finish it off with this one. Cameron, I think I just saw Chase catch a slant in front of my office window. What a way to go. Shout out to everybody. All right, guys, with that said, we're heading out of here. Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Before you head out, if you could, please hit that like button. I think we're only at like 100 likes right now. The goal is to get to 300 every live stream. So if you guys could please make that happen, it would be awesome. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcast. And as always, find all of our work at All Steelers. Okay, it's been a minute, guys. si.com/NFL/Steelers. With that said, I hope everybody enjoys an off weekend, takes a breath, comes back ready for Green Bay to eat some cheese and to beat some cheese and to win against the Packers. You just got to punch some cheese heads. You know what I'm saying? Just fight some cheese. That's what you got to do. Enjoy it. We'll be back on Monday. Enjoy another beautiful day in the park. Peace.